And we are live.
Welcome everyone to tonight's Board of Health meeting. First thing we'll do is a roll call. Something new that we added. Alan Greenberg, present.
Tom Pickner, here.
Joyce Gilmore here. Colleen Straponi, health agent here.
Jack Malone, Board of Health Administrator here.
All right, the gang's all here. So we'll move on to the third item. Good and welfare for the public, 5-minute limit per individual. Do we have anyone from the public?
Nobody is joining our meeting.
All right, so moving right along, old business. We'll talk about the DB tobacco permit. I see the gentleman is here and willing to work with us to get this resolved. Colleen, I'll let you handle this.
I went into DB Mart to purchase a pack of cigarettes for a friend. And the clerk did not ask me for an ID, which is a requirement on the tobacco regulations. And I asked the clerk if she was going to ask me for my ID. And she said no. She said, I recognize you, you've been in here before buying cigarettes, which I've never been in the store before, ever, to buy cigarettes. So this was the first time, and I advised her then that that wasn't the case, that she obviously had me mistaken with somebody else. And then I acknowledged my presence to her and who I was, and I asked, I guess I spoke with you on the telephone right after that. So I advised the business owner that it was a violation of the tobacco regulations, and also advised him that there was a fine involved. This is a second offense in accordance with the regulations. In addition to the fine, the board can vote to suspend the license for 7 days. So we advised the business owner of that, and that's what the business owner says this evening.
Okay. Tom or Joyce, is there anything you'd like to add?
Will Joyce go first?
Well, we all have to obey the laws, and that's what makes things
That's why I'm here.
work, yes.
I'm listening your side, and then if you give me allow me, I can give my side too, and hopefully we will be on the same page because we are working together. I'm nothing without you, and this is my first priority to follow the rules everywhere. So if there is any violation, it has to be fixed the way it's supposed to be, and I brief you my position, and then rest is in your hand.
Thank you.
So you want me to speak for 5 minutes, something?
Not yet.
Oh,
We're gonna let Joyce
okay.
speak and then Tom.
Okay, no problem.
All right, and that way you'll know
Yeah.
what we're thinking.
Yes, no problem.
Well, as I said, everything has rules and regulations, and that's what we all have to do. And
I agree.
sometimes it's not easy, but especially if you're not in this working place and your person that's working for you isn't obeying. So, and I would say you need to have a little chat too with her as well. And the rest of your staff, I don't know how many you have there, the staff, but I know you don't want to be paying fines every time.
So we what?
Paying a fine.
I already paid the fine.
I know, you don't want to.
Good, yes, of course,
That's
I
right.
don't want anything.
That's what
other than,
I say.
Doing business under your umbrella, under the code of state and everything.
Right.
So I understand completely. That's why I'm here to resolve everything. And hopefully we'll go on and say after that, I have a couple of questions for you, so.
Absolutely.
We can set up, and then I go there, and I already talk to them, and they understand, because this is my store, this is our store. So we run under some rules and regulation, This is not something that they are selling and putting in the pocket. So if money going out from store pocket, it's store lost too. So we are facing terrible situation already. But this is after that, but I still agree with you, this is something need to be fixed. And when you heard my perspective or my briefing, maybe little bit convenience for you to decision. I fully agree with your decision whatsoever is coming out, because I can explain to you once I heard everybody what happened and what is going to be fixed.
Okay. Tom?
Well, you've actually probably already answered a couple of questions I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask, what conversations have you had so far with your employees since this last incident happened? It sounds like you have had some
Yeah.
conversations with them to try to help
Yes,
them understand.
yes, particularly for this fine lady. I asked her, she told me that she know her because I think you came time to time visit my store for the inspection, something like that.
Compliance checks,
Okay.
absolutely.
So she was under influence of Board of Health, I'm honestly telling you. Here Indian, little bit less English, and she told me later on, she thought it probably rude to ask Board of Health member to show the ID. Even she said, I consider her like, I'm telling you later, but I'm giving you this question, what I told her. He said, because this is the main reason that they thought, I know her and it's looking rude, I said, show me your ID. Because I know her and she talked to her. So she was little bit under influence of Board of Health. Plus she said, I know that she's over 30s. So in their mind, there's one question that anybody within the 30s, we have to have a card. So she thought she's over 30, so I don't need to card her. And plus, she is working for Board of Health. But I explained later on what I told you later on, because we were both, including myself, we were on the wrong page. You are on the right page, but we are all in the wrong page. Because for this section, I came from very, very holy place. I swear to God, we are not aware of that. Regardless, anybody through this gate, we have to ask the ID. We were know that before, like only state law, that anybody under 21 card or anybody between 27, 30s, you see, look like you have a card. But in my store, if you look at my record, all from 2009 to till now, only one time, one wire able to bought a cigarette from and I fired this guy because he argued with me, said he is not the one. But it happened in his shift, but unfortunately my camera had a 48-hour recording. And when I receive your correspondence and everything, the 48 hours passed, so I can't producing evidence. But I told him, okay, khalas, you don't admit it, but this is what's happening here. After that, we never ever, we are considering focus on the minor only. This section was not particularly, I'm not aware, I'm telling you. I came from a very holy place, I'm not aware of. You blame me for anything, I take it. But I'm not aware of this one, regardless age or regardless how many times the gentleman coming into my store, we have to verify his ID. And this is the confusion till today. I need to go, before go, I need to clear with you guys. Is that going to be happen? Because it's easier for us when we don't have distinguish between the age. Anybody came in, show me ID, take a cigarette or tobacco, khalas. No 18, no 30, no 40, no 50. If this is the rule, it's gonna help me
Out of
very
curiosity,
much.
sorry to interrupt, how many employees do you have that cover various shifts? You have 3 total?
Plus sometimes I work over the weekend to just lose my weight. Otherwise, I am retired now.
And out of curiosity, do you have other businesses like this elsewhere, like, out of curiosity, is this your only business that you have, or do you operate other busineses
No, I
elsewhere?
have one, IHO,
Okay,
International House of Pancake, but not here, it's over there.
same type of store?
No, 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 that's IHO, International House of Pancake.
Oh, I don't, all right, I love Idaho.
Oh, yes, not true. I'm very good cook.
Okay, but this is the only store that you have?
Yeah, so far this is the only
That's like-
store. I have one store, partnership with my other guy, but we rented the store. We own the building, we don't own the business inside. So we own the building and we rent it, just like somebody rented this store to me, 2009. We bought the store and we rented. But this store is new to me, everything, because I'm talking to this gentleman a couple of times. This community gives me everything, and this store is my living. It gives me a lot of things, and I want to repay in any shape to this community. And if I follow these rules, it's some sort of repay, and I am going to do this. Plus, it's not necessarily, but I tell you, 7 or 8 years ago, we have a big power failure here. Unfortunately, my store was open only, and I offer all of my customers to bring perishable food, and my walking cooler and my cooler is open. I can tell you, there's a lot of emotional people came to my store and they said, but I said, that's not a big deal because I got everything from here. Everything, my education for fee for my children, my food at home, and those are all pure because this is a pure money. We work here, hard work, and we get that money. It's a business, straight business. So this is what everything for me, but I can guarantee you, I'm not aware of this. If this is the question, I take all responsibility, and then I tell you, if this is the right section, that regardless any age, first of all, 2 customers came to me and they asked me one question for you guys. And this is good, they asked me too, because I asked them to show me the ID. He said, what the hell, I showed you yesterday, and he was 77 years old. And fortunately, this store, my almost 80% people are senior. And out of 80%, is 90% is the most senior. So it's very difficult for me to gargle with them because they are paying for everyone. And I don't want to be, rude. I'm not rude, but I don't want to be argument with them. So they said, okay, one guy said me, ask them if you verify my age, I'm 77. Why you verify tomorrow again? It's gonna change something? I said, no, it's not gonna change, but that's what here, that any person came for his ID need to be verified.
I'm assuming he's referring to the guideline here, the 665, where everyone has to be.
So the regulation requires.
But each person, but he said, it is not there writing that every time. So I said, okay, I will talk to them, and if this is a law every single time, regardless of the age, it's easy for my life.
Okay.
So,
Let me interrupt for 1 minute, sir.
Yeah.
The information the visual information that we hand out, is there a section or a poster that says anything to that effect, that everybody needs to show their ID?
No, but what they do though is when they renew the tobacco permit application, is a checklist here that they have to initial, and on the checklist, it states that they would request an ID from everybody.
Everyone that buys tobacco?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my thought is that to help the store owner out is, would it be for him to, with the use of a
Post
computer,
design.
make up a small poster
Right.
that would be behind the cashier
Mhm.
that would say, any and all tobacco sales, we need you to show, the customer to show positive ID.
Absolutely.
And that way there, and in the lower corner, can even cite the regulation
Mhm.
so that, you know, your clerk or yourself can just point to the sign and, you know, this is the rule that we have to follow. Would something like that be helpful?
Yes, that's the copy says here.
Right.
But it doesn't say that every single time, it say any person want to buy a tobacco, but it doesn't say every single time, if somebody came twice, or next day he came, and I know that I check already his ID, that's what their question.
Right, well, if we say all tobacco sales, that would cover every time.
Yes, yes.
So why don't? All right, Colleen, would it be appropriate for us to help design
Mhm.
the wording?
Yep.
And then we could give it to the store owner to
Yeah.
post?
Yeah.
Would that be
Yep, we can do
within
that.
our, all right, so we're gonna make something up
Yes, very good,
that you can post
yes,
that will help.
yes,
Okay? That's what we're gonna do, because you came in tonight, you're trying to work with us.
yes, definitely,
If that seems to be the confusion,
yes,
and I understand you don't want to offend your customers,
yes, not at all.
okay? And I know for alcohol, a lot of times I've seen signs in liquor stores that, you know, you should be complimented that someone's asking you for your ID. So it's, you know, yeah, no one's doing it to offend anyone. But
It's the rule.
yeah, so
Yeah,
we're prepared
yes,
to put something together for you and we'll print it. Okay?
Yeah.
But you have to post it.
yes, I have to post it.
Okay, and I want you to post it behind the clerk
Okay,
so that when the customer is dealing with the clerk, they can look right at it. This is what we have to comply with.
yeah, you know, yes, I agree with you, and thank you for your words, because sometimes when I work in a counter, I don't say no ID, no cigarette, because that's rude. No ID, no cigarette.
I understand.
You have to choose the word, because sometimes my customer came, they ask me something, they don't find it. So I never point this one, because this is rude too, because this gentleman is paying for me, paying for everybody.
Mhm.
Right now, ma'am, I am paying $1,100, more than $1,100 a month, my employee tax to the state. So this store gives a lot of contribution to everywhere small. I don't want to play rude to people and they stop coming and then I have no. So that's why I agree with you. Words speaks, but if we have let something like that you explain, that will help me and we will say that, please, you don't have ID, bring your ID. And
Sorry, Jake Ross, 17 Washington Street. What's the establishment that's being discussed?
DB Mart at the corner up there on 16 in Main Street. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
The other thing that we could do too is, in addition to posting it behind the clerk, we could also make up a second one and have it posted on the door or on the window, you know, so that
Right.
before the individual
Yeah, I can
even
print couple
enters
of
the store, we could have that posted. The other thing too is, just so that you know, and not to interrupt you, but I spoke with Joan from the tobacco compliance, and we discussed it. I let her know what was going on, and she also suggested that we do additional training
Mhm.
for the employees at the store.
Sir, do you have an employee training handbook?
I think I have a couple of in my use. I will find out because it's a very old store. So before my owner, there's a lot of stuff over there in the back. I will
Okay,
find out.
because that might be another place that if this were in the training handbook and the employee, you know, if they had any questions, you go to the handbook. This is how I do things.
Yeah, this is a good idea, but I'm telling you one thing totally, because we are on the wrong side, I'm telling you. We are not aware of this section. Now we know that there is I can guarantee you, but not 100% because I'm not there, but I can guarantee you, once I settle here, I will go there, I will bring the other girl, I bring the other guy right now. And I'm gonna tell them, this is what we decided. Anybody comes in, you have to verify any product of tobacco only.
Correct.
You need to verify their age, regardless their age, right? Am I right?
Correct.
Regardless how many times he's coming. He's coming every day, you check every day. This is what we have here, that's it.
And what happens, hopefully what will happen, that when they see the sign, they will know that that's what they have to do. When
Oh, yes.
when they come in, they'll have their identification in their
Yes,
hands.
plus the problem is not my problem, is my talent, my side. They are not customer side because they are not aware of this thing.
Right,
Now they know that regardless I
right.
have to call everybody, then easy job for them too. It is very easy job for them too. I'm gonna show them how to work. It's very easy.
Well, and Colleen is gonna provide you, she's gonna schedule
Yes.
with you some additional training
Mhm.
for your employees. All right, so we're gonna provide that also
Okay?
to help you because we're partners with you,
Definitely.
okay?
Mr. Chairman, just, you know, our guest has raised his hand shortly.
Jay Kraus, 17 Washington Street. I didn't know this was on the agenda, and actually, it's a really important subject. And now that I am here for it, I'd like to speak because I have an issue with this business in particular, and I've been contemplating filing a complaint about it because I know my son's friends are purchasing tobacco products underage at the store. And I understand you don't want to offend your customers, but you have a right, you have an obligation to the public to protect the children from this, because vaping is a problem, it's an epidemic, and it's not acceptable. And I'm sorry, it's not wanting to offend your customers is not good enough.
Okay, I don't know that. I just came to. know
You're a
that.
business owner, you need to own that, you need to know that because you sell tobacco.
Sir, just for the board's information, do you know if this is something that is going on a continual basis? Are you aware of it over the last 3 months, the last 6 months,
I'll say
9
the
months?
last 3 months.
The last 3 months,
Yes.
okay. We appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and the store owner is very, wants to be aware of these things. So thank you for coming forward. We're working with the gentleman right now on a different
I
violation.
can guarantee you, maybe this is happening over the weekend. From Monday to Friday, I am very tight, looking from my home and everything. Maybe.
I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter, as long as the store is open, you have that obligation. It doesn't matter if it's a weekday, a weekend, or whatever.
I don't step back from this one.
It's his
What I'm
step.
saying,
Yeah.
you're right,
Yeah.
you are right. But I'm trying to work in my mind, so I know that. So if this is the right, I know how to fix this.
So what
It will not happen.
thinking is you're predominantly there during the week, so potentially where you might be, following the rules yourself, that maybe when you're not there on the weekends, that this is happening more often on the weekend than during the week, is that what you're trying to say?
For these two ladies, I can guarantee you, they are not the ones. I have a couple of young guys working, maybe, because I'm gonna fire them, I'm gonna work.
Well, and as Joyce pointed out, we understand that you can't always be there. However, as the store owner, you have the responsibility for your
Oh, yeah.
employees' actions,
Yes,
which is exactly what the gentleman here is pointing out.
yes, yes.
And obviously, he's got a little inside information by having a teenager in the house. So he's a little more tuned in at this stage as to what's going on that shouldn't be going on.
They ride their bikes to the store and park them outside and go in, pick
Okay.
them up. I'd say that's a pretty good candidate to ask for an ID.
Well, what it is everybody has to be asked, regardless.
Yeah.
So that's what
Sure.
we're working on, is that, even if you're 80 years old, yeah, which I know you're not.
Not yet.
No, you made a good point.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so,
would like it.
And to be, not to belabor the point, but I understand where you're coming from and not wanting to offend. But speaking from this side, from a cultural perspective, I think pretty much this concept in the United States is pretty well understood in terms of people knowing what is now the law in most places with regard to this. So I appreciate the fact that you don't want to offend, but I don't personally believe that you'd have to worry about offending, because people of this culture, we already know what the rules are. And if they don't choose to want to follow them, then well, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's on them. But that should not deter you from, operating the business the way you need to operate, that's all.
and it appears, from what I'm hearing, sir, is that he's looking for the right words to
That's
use so that people, his clients, understand why he's asking. So that's why we're gonna help him
With the signage.
with the right words to use so that your clients won't be offended.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that will you.
I give my word to this
Yeah,
gentleman,
good idea, yeah.
that I need to give my word to this gentleman, this is not going to happen again, what he is coming. So I will give you my personal phone, and you tell me again if somebody able to do this business again here, okay?
I'll take
I
it.
really appreciate you bring it to my notice, I give you my cell phone, tell me if your son or anybody able to got anything from my store. Because I'm going to fix tonight everything, if I work, I can work. And I'm telling you, not from my side, like I'm telling my honesty. I ask, when I work, sometimes you see me sometimes, as you see me a couple of times, because I work when they need me, somebody day off. I refuse not refuse, I ask, can I see your ID? He said, oh, in the car, I'll bring it. They never bring it. I know that. People try. Every week, 4, 5, 6 people try. So that's fine, that's part of the business. But what he's saying, that's a very, very disturbing for me. Because I have a son too. I have my kids too. So this shouldn't be done. If somebody doing, that's not fair. And in my store, I can guarantee you,
The question now, sorry for interrupting, how long have you owned that?
2009,
How long?
2009.
2009.
Oh, 2009.
And that store was a very, I turned this store to the neighborhood store.
All right, at this point, I think we've heard from everyone, right? We've resolved a few things at a high level. But Colleen is the inspector. What do you suggest the plan of action is at this point? Because we have the option to suspend,
It's part of your regulation.
right? The fine has already been paid.
Yes.
Okay, so we still have the option to suspend. And we have to decide whether or not we're gonna go forward with that. And then after that comes the signage and the training.
Training.
And I heard you say the signage will share with
All the stores.
all the stores. All right, so that's something we'll add.
Mhm.
We do have some new information
Mhm.
that, obviously is disturbing to us, disturbing to the store owner.
For me, it's the board executed a regulation with certain if they were violated, then there's fines. So in the course of the regulation, I'm not going to suggest to the board at your vote that you waive or vote either way. The regulation is the regulation. I stand with the regulation, and so the board knows. I also went to all of the tobacco establishments to purchase tobacco. The majority of them all asked for an ID. There were 2 that did not. One in the course of doing these compliance checks, the first one is a warning, so one of the establishments, it was their first time they received a warning, they've never received a warning from the board before. So I advised them who I was and advised them that it was a warning. And we sent a non-criminal citation with the warning on it to that particular establishment. The second establishment, it was their first offense, they were fined $100. If it happens again, they'll be fined again, and then they'll be before the board again for the 7-day suspension in accordance with the regulations.
All right, then I'll ask my fellow board members about the 7-day suspension. And we've always ruled that we have to treat everyone equally.
Correct.
So if we enforce the 7-day suspension, we have to be prepared just to do it for all. And if we waive it at this time, we have to be prepared to waive it for all.
Well, it is a process. You start out with a warning, and then you have a next offense, which is the second offense.
Which was warning, and then then it would be a first offense, which would be done.
At first documented, right, so supposed to be, right, so that's the first monetary fine, that's true. Then the third time is the second written offense, that's the second fine financially. So the individual's already experienced 3 situations, strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. Well, I'd be of the mindset, although very difficult,
Yeah.
I believe 3 strikes, you're out.
So I'm
Yes,
not
please.
familiar, does that mean that the store is closed or that
No, they can't sell tobacco
for a week?
No, it's been, I have to close the store for 7 days because I can't sell candy and the only store, rest is the candy and soda. Because I was, what do you cover with the tobacco? Everything, like cigarette,
All tobacco.
that's it?
And actually too, as I understand it, we we're kind of having a conversation about
And I'm
this.
telling you that I'm not aware of this section, believe me. And nobody gave me this one. The first time I saw this one in my store. And this is a very harsh one, but I humbly request you, whatever you, it's your hand. But how come this is my 3rd offense? And we are not selling to the minor this one.
No, it's your second offense, not your third.
But your first offense is a warning, you've had a warning.
No, she never gave me one. She just gave.
Yes, I did. I gave a warning when I went into your store with a complaint that we received about your humidor not being locked.
Okay, this is what I'm telling you, that we have 4 humidor, we have 4 lock. I remember we talked each other. I told her that I ordered online. We did it.
Yes.
So what happening, there's a two-part lock. It is go sliding. What happening, I agree with her that one door was not locked. I asked the girl, he said, boss, I lock it. I said, then she showed me it's not locked. He said, yes, but I don't know how it's happened. Then I said, okay, I lock it. So I unlock it, I said, lock it. She locked it. But it was not locked because the hinges don't go into the hole because they are very cheap, $5-6. So they go like this. So I told her, until unless you have to hold the head of the lock and move back to make sure it's locked. Otherwise, there's possibility. Now, since then, you came twice and gentlemen also came to my store, they check all the time. It's locked because now when they do this, they lock it and they make sure the lock is locked. That was my first. But look, this is little harsh. I'm not saying unfair. It's little harsh that the second time, we don't know even the rule. We didn't send to the minor, and for 7 days suspension mean that maybe I'm not able to reopen my store again, because I'm not going to tell you right now how much we are affected with say, with some kind of rules and regulation. Since then, we have a menthol cigarette off. Only menthol cigarette, because we are selling a lot of menthol cigarette, and it's moved to the Rhode Island, and Woonsocket is a 12-minute drive from here. And I'm unfortunately on the border. If just consider one thing, if 1 week nobody coming to buy a cigarette, tobacco or anything, then it's very hard to bring back all the customer back. It's gonna be a 50% person gone to anywhere. You can give me a fine, I pay some money, that's no big deal. But it's gonna be very harsh for me right now, I'm telling you. It's gonna be a very harsh decision to do this. So it's up to you guys.
Well.
I mean, this is my
Yeah,
point.
oh, yeah, no, that's the reason that we have regulations, is because it's written in black and white.
And we'll
Okay, and like I said, we have to enforce those regulations equally to everyone.
Yes.
We can't pick and choose,
Okay, but,
and we don't do it arbitrarily.
yeah.
We follow the regulations, and that's why we have these
Okay,
discussions.
one more question I have, because that's one of my customers used to me that the Walmart and DJs and other Cumberland, they don't have this kind of rule. So they said they never check the ID. I said, how? Last week personally, I went to Attleboro because I live in Attleboro. I went to the BJ, I bought 1 carton of cigarette. Then I ring it, it's the age. The girl came, she asked me my date of birth. I told her, she ring it, I pay her money, go out. So if something like we can put in my system, the IV, we can do that, but that costs money. But the better is that we put the sign regardless any age. This is the best way. But giving me 7 days, it's up to you, guys. I have no
Choice.
Well, I tend to feel that I know that's the rule, I see that that's the rule, but I tend to feel that it wasn't totally misunderstood by everybody, and you know, I know it's difficult in terms of trying to run a business and that sort of thing in this day and age, and I guess I kind of would like to give them another chance of putting up the signage and talking to everybody and say, you know, look, you put me at great risk for losing the store,
Yeah, you can do that.
but
We're here to help you.
Thank you, sir.
However, like I mentioned and reminded my fellow board members, we have to be prepared that if we don't follow the regulations, we have to not follow the regulations for the next person in line who needs some understanding. I'm not sure I'm prepared to not follow the regulations. We can, like I said, we can help you with signage. We can help you with retraining your employees. But the regulation has been out there for a while. It's not a new regulation. it was all part of when we went to 21, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
So that was a number of years ago. You've owned the store since 2009, so you were the owner when the new regulations and the age went to 21 came into effect. And that was before the total state of Massachusetts went to 21. We were part of the first handful of towns that took it upon themselves to raise the age.
So this rule, regardless any age, I have to call everybody. This is not something like 2017 or 2019. This is very new, I think so. Don't you think so?
It's,
Yeah.
it's,
Because it was not, I don't know, I might have go online and check with the state, because before that, we thought state is checking everything. But I later on, I know that, I came to my knowledge that city is supersede everybody, every law.
it's Mass General law though too, so.
Yes.
That you
So-
have to kind
So
of.
I didn't provide it, if somebody provide me this, and I'm telling you before, honestly, if I'm not aware of this law. If I'm aware of this law, that's fine, but anyhow, you will, I told you my story and everything.
No, and I appreciate it, and we have a concerned citizen here that came here in good faith to hear what was the situation and brought some new information to us. And he's here in person. This isn't an anonymous complaint. This is an in-person complaint that, I mean, you've got a warning, you've got a first violation and a second violation.
I don't get any warning, I don't.
Well, again, that goes back,
She sent me the
that goes
letter.
back to the humidor.
Hmm.
I have that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Got an advance copy.
Do we have any way of verifying when that actually was written?
I want to say it was 2022.
Yeah,
Okay, so that was after our regulations went to 21. Was that about the same time? Well, that was even after the state went to 21.
Mhm.
If we're going back to 22. But 22 is 2 years ago.
We did it first and then the state ended up following up behind. us.
Right. But if this section goes back to 2022, that's essentially 2 years ago. Or just shy of 2 years ago. So this isn't new.
So this is his third.
well, his second, really, because he got the warning about the humidor, then I went in, the humidor was unlocked, and then he got fined $100. And now went in, did the compliance, check for the regulation. And there was, an ID wasn't requested.
How many tobacco sales, points of sale do we have in town?
Currently, right now, 7.
7.
And I believe, I was gonna mention before, with regard to the discussion of tobacco, I think that also showing that the idea applies to tobacco-related components such as lighters.
Yes.
So, I don't know
Like
if
a
you're,
lighter?
Oh, yeah, you can't buy big lighters without showing an ID.
Oh, really?
so
So like-
it extends beyond just the tobacco product.
Yeah, oh,
Things such as lighters, so you're supposed to have an ID shown for that as well,
Yeah,
what's related.
Well, Unfortunately, we're here today. This is where we're at. So I'm gonna say we probably have to take a vote to suspend or not suspend for 7 days. So I guess what we'll do is I'm gonna ask for a vote from my fellow board members and obviously myself to suspend for 7 days, to follow the regulations to the letter, knowing that we need to be prepared to do this for all tobacco points of sale in town. So Joyce?
Well, I know it's the rule, it's the law, so I've always said to my kids, these are the rules and this is the law, so I guess I have to say, you have to follow the law.
I will vote to suspend as well.
Very difficult decision, sir, but
That's okay.
I'm gonna have to follow the rules. I'm gonna have to say yes to a suspension for 7 days. We mean you no harm. But on the other hand, we have to represent all the members of the community, and we have to do it equally.
Is there a guideline for how,
So that's, I was just gonna ask the board, when do you want the suspension to start? Usually, it could be effective in a certain time frame. You could say starting, on April 30th for 7 days, you can suspend immediately. It's up to the board as far as if you want to give them time to prepare, they have to remove all the tobacco and tobacco-related products from their displays. They can keep them locked.
does that assume the store stays open, that they have to do that?
Right,
But
if that's,
they chose to close,
then they wouldn't have to, if they choose to close. If they choose to stay open, then all tobacco and tobacco-related products have to be removed. When would you want the suspension to begin?
well, I'm amenable to the preparation. I do understand how difficult this is as a business owner,
It take me like 6-7 hours to empty the store.
but I'm
Because
amenable,
I'm not gonna leave anything in the store. That, I don't agree with this one.
but I'm open.
Why should I leave in the store? We're gonna move to home or somewhere else, because I can rent some place for $50 a month, so I'm gonna put everything over there, because there's no question if I remove from display and then put it back, and I don't think so you can allow it, hopefully.
What if we did from Sunday's date to Saturday?
So that's up
That
to the
gives a few
board.
days, and from Sunday to Saturday, and then that gives time on the following Sunday, when he's allowed to sell tobacco, to get set back up.
And I request one more thing, you need to go to my store with me you have to tell them what, because I don't want to have, next time you came and you say, oh, this is also, you have to remove. Because I still don't understand the tobacco products. Because tobacco, we have chewing tobacco, we have a different tobacco, we have a roll your own.
Anything tobacco-related. Anything that contains tobacco you can't sell it for 7 days.
Like premium cigar.
Anything that contains tobacco,
So how about the chewing tobacco?
that's tobacco. That has to be,
And Zin chill, nicotine, that's not tobacco. No, I'm asking you.
yeah, it's nicotine.
Yeah,
Any
but that's a nicotine.
Tobacco and nicotine-related products have to be, you can't sell them for 7 days.
No, but Zin is not a tobacco. It's for, to get rid of the tobacco. It's a chewing nicotine. It's not tobacco.
So there's a question, is it based on actual tobacco? Because there might be products that have a nicotine.
You can't
have
consider this one as tobacco.
tobacco.
I think, isn't that something that they take to And
So
they try
they
to
don't-
withdraw.
Yeah, this is had to, for
I'm gonna
smoking.
double check with Joan.
Yeah, just check it out.
I'm gonna double check with
It
Joan.
will help you
Because I don't
to
want.
prevent the cigarette smoking. If you are
Right.
smoking, it is that. So this is, even state, encourage us to sell this one more than the cigarette.
Okay.
Because this is less injurious and this is good enough to people to get in little nicotine and forget about the cigarette.
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do, and Jack, we're gonna, so you can get a clear picture. We're gonna suspend the license starting on Sunday
That's April 28th.
to Saturday,
That is May 4th.
all right? We're going to assist with signage,
Yes.
at least 3 copies, one for behind the cashier or clerk, one for the door, and one for the employee handbook at this time. And we're gonna provide additional training to the employees,
I'll schedule
To
that with
prevent-
Joan.
to prevent this from happening again. All right? And the store owner is going to provide the resident that came in with a complaint with his personal cell phone number,
Yes, yes. I will-
okay? Have I covered it all? All right. Sir, did we answer your concerns tonight?
Yes, you did, and just reading through the state law, it does include tobacco products with a nicotine content of 35 milligrams per milliliter or less.
So it's phrased as tobacco products, it just references tobacco products with a nicotine level, right? Is that what you're saying, Jay?
Yes.
So does that mean though that if it's a non-tobacco product that has nicotine, I think there's the question we need to answer. Because there are probably products out there that are not tobacco, but they have nicotine in them.
Right,
It might
and-
be a
and
distinction.
What that, that's one of the things that I am familiar with, is like someone especially who chews tobacco and stuff like that. It is so, addictive
Oh, yeah?
that how they withdraw from it is not chewing the tobacco, but
The nicotine
taking the nicotine, just so that it keeps them
Right, it's sensation.
level, yeah, yeah.
And I want you to know, sir, that you can feel free to reach out to the board at any
Yes,
time
yes, yes.
to answer any of your questions.
I put
And
all
to
my
assist you.
questions, I would my request, and unfortunately it's not work, but that's all right, I'm happy all the way, because it's gonna cost 7 days too, but I'm gonna lose a lot of money and a lot of my customers, but I can't do anything.
Well, when Colleen comes in to retrain your employees,
Yes,
you need to make it understood to your employees how important it is to follow the regulations,
Yeah.
because it affects everyone's paycheck,
of course, you see,
okay? And you've expressed that you want to be an upstanding member of the community and that you've tried to offer services to the members of the community. You need to impress that on your employees, that when they're there, they're the face of your store, they're representing you, and they need to follow the rules. And if they have questions, they can call you, right? If they have a concern, they can dial you up and,
but in that case, I don't blame particularly for them, but I understand they are trying their best, both of them. So,
we want to help them do better.
yes, I will explain to
All
them,
right,
and
again, we're here to help you.
we are ready to help each other, and that's the way things going on, because if I go this way and you go this way, it's not gonna work out. We work out, now I'm happy because I tried my best.
Mhm.
And that's what it is. Sometimes the things are not going your way, but it doesn't mean that you are failed and you are, you give up. I've never give up anything,
All
but
right.
that's all right.
You may actually find that your customer base won't really change as
I'm
much. as
lucky
you
to tell you, I have wonderful customers.
Yeah.
But the whole customers are mostly, I'm telling you, between 60 to 70. And my main selling is cigarette. A lot of people buying cigarette.
We want you to continue.
Yes,
These are the rules and regulations, and everyone in your business has to follow those rules and regulations. But please, if you have any questions anytime, you can always contact Jack
yeah,
and we'll get you an answer.
yes, sure. And I agree with that. There's a lot of towns have different rules. But for the 21 age, almost they are same on the same page. So it might be different rule in Attleboro, different rule in Boston. So I know that the towns have a different rules for the tobacco regulation. But anyway, I
Well-
know.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
If I may say something, if you don't mind.
Yes, Jack.
Absolutely.
But on March 26th, when Colleen went in there for the non-ID citation,
mhm,
2 weeks later, I went in, because I am a smoker,
mhm.
and since you're right around the corner, I went and purchased 2 packs of cigarettes. And for the same violation you did on March 26th, the girl did not ask me for an ID.
There's a letter right here.
And so since I'm not an agent for the Board of Health, I'm just a reporting authority.
It was in the morning or in the evening?
It was in the afternoon.
I
No, I
get it.
got you.
Jack contacted me immediately. I was in the other town. I told him to make a record of it immediately.
So I just want to point out, it is a hard decision for the board to make a suspension of the license, but 2 weeks prior, Colleen made aware of the agent selling without checking a license. You can keep that, yes. But I went in there, you can look on the videotape if you have surveillance recording.
I told you what happened again. Now I can fix them with this and regardless age. So there's no distinguish between age and anybody came through this door.
Very good.
But that's it. I
Perfect.
agree, the very first thing I agree with you, this one. Okay, this one, we don't know that before, but now I know that. Anything here is not covering my word, but this one, by expectation, that I understand. I'm not aware of this one, neither am I. Now we are aware. I'm gonna tell them tonight, this is the situation. We have this one. After that, or now, tomorrow morning, you have to ask every single person ID. Regardless, it's look like 70, 60, 80. They have to follow because they are employed. Before that, what happened, we have some confusion, but not confusion clear. And that's okay.
Well, sir, I want to thank you for coming in.
Yeah, my pleasure too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm still very happy to see you guys. And I
Thank
again
you.
tell you, as far as my side, I will do my best to work with you. And for this gentleman, I assure you, nobody will be ever able to get anything from my store. I know how to do this, and I know the way to do this. It's gonna be happen tonight. That's it.
Thank you.
Period. And I will give him my phone number. If somebody find anything, he have to call me. And I don't think so, he will find again. That's it.
Thank you.
Excellent. We want you to be successful. Thank you,
So
sir.
this coming Sunday, right?
This coming Sunday, yeah.
Yes.
So the Saturday night, we will remove everything. I will take home the cigarette, bag, and roll your own bag, all the cigarette from the bag and from there, and then the premium cigar, because that's tobacco too. And that's it.
And the lighters.
Lighter too.
Well,
we don't
that's
have
not
to.
tobacco. right?
Oh, yeah, you have to get rid of
It's just
those.
that-
Oh, I thought you meant you had to get rid of those. when you said
No.
that. Oh,
No.
okay.
No, no.
Sorry.
Probably just gonna be.
Because if you don't have cigarettes, who's gonna buy them?
I'm sorry, sir.
I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have it, not know everything, so.
I don't email
That's
myself.
fine. I thought you were saying,
No.
they said you.
If you don't have a cigarette, who's gonna buy the lighter?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
You'd be amazed.
So let me understand, Sunday morning to Saturday night, right?
Correct.
So Saturday night, we come back like 9:30 and we put back everything for the tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Like that.
All right, Jack, could you pass on the office email?
Yeah, it's BOH
DOH,
at mendonma.gov.
gotcha.
All right, so we're all set on this topic?
And why don't you give him your phone number?
I'm going to give him
Take his phone number.
Sure.
Thank you, Nicholas.
528
Thank you.
641 3204.
Sorry, 508
641
641
3204. You can't call me because I turn off my phone here, because this is very rude if I'm in a meeting and my phone is on. So, but I give you my phone number.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There's no personal feeling at all, but I'm still very glad to see you guys in good faces. And I welcome you all the time in my store. And if you feel anything, you let me know, you know.
Thank you.
And Jack, you too, thank you for
Thank you very much,
support and warm feeling. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Good night, sir.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, you too, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Were we helpful?
I was not expecting that tonight, but yes, it was very helpful. Thank you.
Well, again.
He's not here for that.
Yeah, he's here for
the next
something.
I
one.
wasn't
Oh, okay.
I wasn't here for this, but I just walked into it and it's very important
Wow.
to me. If you've had a 15-year-old who's hooked on vaping and Zyn pouches, you know what I'm dealing with.
All right, if you would like to sit at the table with us, you're more than welcome.
Sure.
All right, so we're gonna go on to our next topic, folks, right? We don't have anybody in the audience that wants to comment?
No.
All right, so we're gonna go on to our comments, response to the planning board on 3537 Hastings Street, please.
That's you.
Let me see.
Well, we were both there, but you
Oh.
don't.
Well, so I think the board's aware of the commentary that Tom Ryder had put forward to us from our last meeting.
Yeah.
Since then, I thought about it after the meeting, that there were a couple of areas that I wanted Tom to respond to, and that was in the area of perk test results and soil evaluations. And for the standpoint of just kind of offering some sort of reference or explanation to what they might mean to the general public, so they might understand, well, what do these results mean? So they can look at a test sheet and not know is that good, is that bad, or, right? So he did do a modification that I didn't realize. So fast forward, Colleen and I were at the last planning board meeting Monday night. And so I thought they had in hand, and actually Jay is one of the planning board members, I thought they had in hand the document that we first received from Tom that we evaluated at our last Board of Health meeting. But Tom actually had responded to my inquiry and sent a revision of that document that kind of addressed the element of concern from a water table, groundwater perspective / soil evaluation perspective. He didn't break it down too in depth, but he created an additional bullet item in that document that we saw. He basically added one more item in that. I don't know if anyone has it. I don't know if you have a copy.
I don't have a copy of it.
Could you put it up on the screen? Yes, you can see it.
I had the first letter on it.
Yeah, so basically, he added a bullet item in there that, from a general perspective, his thought addresses generally a viewpoint of groundwater and soil evaluations, because there've been a lot of general concerns from the public with regard to that land up there,
Right,
the
yeah,
property
sure.
that you own,
Right,
living across the street.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the document that went to the planning board.
the new one.
Well, so pretty much everything that you're seeing right now is all the same that we saw 2 weeks ago at our last meeting. The item that's highlighted in yellow was added. And that particular verbiage is what Tom put in to respond to my wanting to have some reference to,
Right.
that's what he added in there. So what he's indicating is that, you know, when the appropriate time comes, should this be a project that moves forward, he wants folks to be aware that it should be including a groundwater monitoring analysis. Personally, I'm not familiar with the details of that, so I couldn't tell you what that entails, but so that was the,
Yeah, because there was very high groundwater, I mean, all through where the, well, you know, I was there all day, when we did the testing. They, where they're going to put the houses, all the tests there, the groundwater was way up high,
Right.
but the perk rate was terrible. It was, you know, which I expected, because I lived on Glacial Till.
Mhm.
So that's all Glacial Till out there, and it was, you know, amazing, and I, you know, I was there all day. And the one that they're using for the septic system, where they're putting the septic system, I was astounded that the soil was different
Mhm.
and the perk rate was better, and the groundwater was still high, but not as high as in the fields. You know, it was high, so that I knew right from that moment that it was gonna have to be built up.
Right.
You know, they're definitely gonna have to do something there, but I was astounded, really.
Yeah, hydraulic pressure.
You know, I mean, I watched every single one. If I had known that you were coming with this, I had my book, my old book from when I was doing it all by myself. I was
Yeah.
doing all the things and taking it up, and Stephen was there with me too. And somewhere along the line in what, Tom had about, what's his name, who used to do the testing, Lenny.
Yeah,
But he was not there at all that day. I mean, that was something he must have done back in the day when they were first thinking about doing it, and they took him around with a golf cart or something like that.
Yeah.
But when I was there for all of that new testing, and he was there, and I stayed right there
Right.
every minute. I would not leave for a second.
did you have any?
Except I went into the bathroom at Brendan's house one time.
So Jay, did you have any, particular comments or thoughts? that you
I
wanted?
guess I'm just, you know, I'm not a hydrologist, so I don't really know. J. Cross 17 Washington Street. And, you know, there are, the pits that they dug are marked and they have posts in them. And, you know, after some of the recent rain events, they're full of water for days.
Right.
So I don't know, like a perk test, I know they measure weeping, that's where water comes in the side of the hole, I think, right?
Right,
But also, when you talk about the perk rates, you're talking about the water draining.
right.
So how does it drain if it's full for days? I just don't understand that.
Well, the thing of it is what happens is where the high water mark is, the system has to be 4 feet above that high water mark. So you have to bring fill in.
When they dig the hole,
Yeah,
they look at the side of the trench, and usually you can see,
So where the high water mark is.
it's like a cross section,
Right.
okay.
so you can see, usually there's a line, it almost looks rusty looking,
Mhm. Yeah, it's
because it's
big.
got iron in it.
Right.
So you can see where that line is, even if there's not water, you can see
Okay.
Where the
in that
water
cross
mark.
section.
So
of the
let me
dirt.
pull that
And that's,
thread a
let
little bit.
me just
Yeah.
continue with his
Yeah.
story. So what you do is, even though the water is not there, you use that as your your go-to thing. That's where the water table was at some point.
Yep,
So that's what they have to deal with, that line, not when the water is there, when we did the testing, because we did the testing at a different time.
yeah,
So that the water was down there. But we know that at any given time, when it's this time of year and there's a lot of rain and that sort of stuff, this is where the water table is in those 3 holes that were there. That's where it was. So what that means is that's the the line that you go with, whether there's water there or not, that means you have to be 4 feet above that line
Okay.
when you're putting in your system.
Okay, so I guess what I was thinking is if there's surface water there, that is the new high water mark, right?
No,
No,
surface
that's
water is a
surface water.
totally different thing.
Yeah, to create that line in the soil, they call that the high water line. And to create that line, the water has to be high for a substantial amount of time to create that mark,
Yeah.
that stain in the soil. And that's why they call it the high water mark. And what Joyce is saying is the bottom of the system has to be 4 feet
Right.
above that line.
Yeah.
Now, there are exceptions to that for
Repairs.
repairs.
Yeah.
You can do a, it's not a variance, it's a local upgrade,
Yeah.
right? But this is new construction.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they have to follow the letter of the law perfectly.
So that's not surface water, that's
Right.
water that's, the water
Well, you're
table that's
seeing-
in the soil that we don't see.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what's in those
And
holes
you
now?
can be really sure that I never left 1 second so that they could do any, not that I'm suggesting that they were not doing their job as the engineer for the thing, but I knew that I wanted to, and Stephen was there as well, Stephen Donatelli, he was there, checking too. We did everything together, but I definitely wanted to make sure because I know how high the
Yeah.
water is there,
So anybody that lives there
right?
Well,
knows how high the water can be.
yeah, I guess, again, not a hydrologist, but, if so I envision like if you dig a perk test, when the water is already there, it's just gonna be a hole full of water, you know what I
Well,
mean?
correct, you
So
know, you can't
that's
do
what
a
I'm
perk,
envisioning.
no, of course, you cannot do a perk test when the water is there, and if the hole is full of water, well, that's was the ones that were in the field back there. That's why, I mean, the water table was very high there, and you could see the water. But they were trying to come up farther and farther, but still, because the water was so high,
Right.
the perk rates were like 28 minutes, an inch up there. Where this one was 9.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, that's a good perk.
I'm like,
in today's world.
creepers. I mean, trust me when I tell you this. I was, and the soil was different. It was not quite as glacial till. Glacial till is what
Freetown
people call,
muck.
what they call clay.
Yeah,
You know, that's what everybody else calls clay, but it was actually had a lot of sand in it, you know, it had a lot of porous stuff. I was surprised, and it wasn't anything that had been built, adapted, you know. It was a hole, because we had to dig out in the woods, we're in the woods.
so I noticed in the submission that they had referenced the testing that was done in 2021.
Right.
And they indicated that they broke the parcel up into 3 different pieces. In the wooded area, which is the proposed section, it says one of the limiting factors is high groundwater. So is that what the mounding test would evaluate, the suitability for that area for the system? Am I reading this the right way?
I would suspect the mounting analysis would have to do with ultimately the positioning of how
Yeah,
the design is gonna go for placement in
Yeah.
terms of height, and actually, it's even possible you could end up being above the 4 feet. It was bad enough.
well, I don't think that, I mean, again,
Unless you can account for.
the water table, you know, you knew where the water table is, so you have to be
Yeah.
4 feet above that.
Minimum.
Well, I mean, 4 feet above it, yeah.
Uh,
And
Is there a reason why they didn't well, I don't know, maybe it's not fair to ask you guys because you didn't submit the package, but is there a reason why they wouldn't have referenced the more recent tests as opposed to the ones from 2021?
I guess the question is, what were the results
I don't know.
between the two? We have to look at the results,
Yeah.
differences. And were they in a different area gathering those 2021 results versus the year?
Because where I saw that they were planning on putting the system was where I knew what the test results were. Now, I'm not gonna, I don't know what Lenny did back in 2021 because I was not there. But I know I didn't leave that spot for a second.
Well, my understanding when that first round was done, because we knew this property was of concern in general, Tom Ryder, I believe, accompanied Lenny.
That sounds right.
Because Lenny had, at the time, he had some tough issues kind of walking,
Right,
and they were gonna help accommodate.
because he went around with a golf cart.
And we asked Tom to accompany Lenny as part of
Okay,
that,
that's
because we
good,
wanted
yeah,
multiple
I didn't know
eyes.
Yeah,
As
right.
just as a validation, if you will,
Right,
and, Tom being our engineer,
Yeah.
right.
so.
Yeah, it sounds as though some of your questions are probably more directed towards either Tom Ryder, our engineer, or Steve Donatelli, who was out in the field along with Joyce.
Sure.
I think the thing that I've learned being on the board, the difference between today and when I built my house 35 years ago in town, the technologies for septic systems and the way that they deal with groundwater, the technology is just so much better and so advanced that a lot of land 35 years ago that would be considered wouldn't perk,
Unbuildable.
now it perks
Yeah.
because the technologies have changed. It's unfortunate that AJ Fisk, who's a septic installer, isn't on the board today because he could answer a lot of those questions. They can go to a heavier duty tank and they can make the tank sit in water so it doesn't float. I mean, it's
But
amazing
that's, I
what
think,
can be done.
I think that's more for repairs.
Right, or agreed,
Because
but-
I did do testing back then,
right,
back in that day.
you did.
So I think there was a
And-
request to have the engineer present at the next meeting, so
Yeah.
that might.
That would be good, yeah.
And I don't know if you've all seen that
Questions
email I just generated this afternoon, and Jay, you.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
So what I basically was doing is a follow-up from attending the meeting. I wanted to do a follow-up to let them know that, because I led them to believe there'd be an additional commentary coming. And once I found out from Jack this morning that actually the commentary was already built in to what the planning board received on Monday, I wanted to explain that they had that, and I included another copy with the highlighted paragraph. I reflected that. So I sent that to the planning board members, as well as to Jack Hunter, who is the town planner. And I copied you folks as well too, as kind of an FYI on it. And in addition, what I brought up on Monday night was I asked if there was a benefit there, which you'd like to have our Board of Health engineer participate in the next meeting. And I think the feeling is they thought that could be beneficial in case there could be some questions that folks might have, whether it be from the planning board or people in the general public.
Right.
So I was gonna reach out to Tom and ask if he could be available to make that meeting.
But that's a planning board meeting.
It's a planning
Okay,
board meeting.
because I'd like to be there as well.
It's a planning board
Yeah.
meeting, and that is scheduled right now. It's on their docket to happen on May 13th.
13.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, not just for the septic system, but for, the folks that are on Washington Street. And you see, you drive down the road after a rain and you see ponds in their yards and you see the houses pumping out water from their basements. And one of the houses actually just stopped pumping now from the last rain, which was real heavy, it was like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So you take and you add, take all the trees out and then you take and add the impervious And then where does all that water go? And I think it's a really important decision for the people on the street that live there because they've been impacted. And we've seen what's happened in other places like 45 Hastings Street or the solar fields on Cape Road where, you know, you change the landscape and all of a sudden it causes issues that maybe we didn't anticipate, or maybe things change, the weather changes, the rules change, and so on and so forth. So it's a really important decision.
Out of curiosity, would any information that might come from the May 13th meeting from, say, our engineer, if he's able to attend and discussing elements of that, have any bearing on whether the planning board moves forward with the project as a whole?
I wouldn't want to speak for the planning board at this point. I mean, I'm kind of here as a butter and a resident of the town, so I wouldn't speak for the board.
Yeah.
I know personally for me, I think it would be very helpful to have someone that could weigh in on some of that stuff, or what options are available depending on what the results do come back as,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, hopefully you can make that meeting.
Yeah,
I think it would help.
I definitely would want to do that.
Oh,
What day is that on? What is, what's your day?
It's a Monday,
It's
it's
May 13th, I think?
3
Yeah.
weeks,
May 13th.
and it's 6 o'clock start,
Yes.
right? So it'll be a 6 PM start at the
Yeah.
Gives them 3
town
weeks.
hall.
Right,
3 weeks.
okay,
So essentially, this would be a continuation of the public hearing they've been
Correct.
having
right,
on this topic. There's only been 2 meetings so far, right?
Yes.
So they're just in the
yeah, the first
beginnings,
one, I was there at the first one.
right?
Just as a note,
Yeah, it's.
as a resident, I know that I've learned working in the town. I've seen a lot of plans where the developer had put in like a retention pond to grab some of the water in large volume and then let it out slowly. It appears to me, just working around town, that these retention ponds, there's no plan to maintain them. So we have some in town that have saplings growing that are 18 feet tall. I know I've seen in other towns, in Blackstone, my sister lives in a development, and I've gone to visit her and I've seen they hire an outside firm to go in with a track machine with a brush cutter, and every other year or so, they're mowing those and they're maintaining them so that they work as they were designed. So obviously the planning board has worked these in to the plans, but if there's no plan to maintain them, they don't work.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just saying that as a resident. I know of one not too far from here that I don't think it's been touched since it was developed in the 80s.
Yeah.
So it's a forest.
Yeah.
And that can create a problem, you know, I mean, we've seen what happened down on Providence Road, and yeah, last time I talked to the highway surveyor, that could be $1 million repair.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, and we've tried to do it as a board here, is to make sure that these things that are designed have some sort of maintenance plan
Caveat, yeah.
so that they keep working as designed. I don't know if that's a helpful suggestion or not, but I know the fire department recently did something for these underground tanks that they have to access water. They rewrote their rules so that when a developer has to put one in, there's some money that gets put in the kitty to maintain those tanks, where before it was up to the town and the town's budget to maintain them. So if something went wrong, it was on the fire department to repair it. So maybe there's a slightly better way to do some things that might help keep whatever's designed working.
Yeah, and I think maybe those are some of the questions that the engineer would be able to ask in terms of, you know, I don't know, based on whatever the findings are, right? Like,
Yep.
is there a different way it should be done, or what's the best way to do it? Yeah, sure.
And I would hope that they may evaluate the number of houses that they're going to be putting into that septic system.
Well, it's kind of interesting that the number of houses, correct me if I'm wrong, it actually increased from the
It did.
initial proposal.
Right. Yes, but it was 26, wasn't it? 26 when we
26 or
first,
27.
Something like that, and they also
Yeah.
included the two on
Washington Street,
the house in the
barn.
barn, the
The house
common
in the
house in the
barn, yeah.
barn, so that was two that I don't think were previously counted. so-
Right, because they, yeah, but, I mean, and so Holly and I. Helping it.
We just want to make sure that if it's something that can
Right.
go forward, you want to make sure that people have assurances that it's going to be engineered properly, that the end
Right.
result
That's it.
is not going to be
Correct,
a problem after the fact. That's
right,
all. So the earlier we have these things analyzed and looked at and discussed, it could be, taken care of.
Perfect.
Anything else on this topic?
Did you have anything further, Jay?
No, I don't want to keep you guys. It's
Oh, no,
it's
this
late,
is-
and I'm good. I think you guys have answered a lot of questions and then more to come, right? And I'll be helpful.
Yeah, we're just kind of getting going with this project.
Process.
Yeah.
Well, we have,
I'm
we have-
interested in the fact that, that you said that they were using the monies.
They discussed it, they mentioned it, on Monday night, I don't know that it's like that they committed to using those numbers, I think they mentioned that it was the second set of testing, is what they said.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, it was just that, I think it was Damon who had mentioned it. And said that it was the second set of testing.
Okay. All right, well, hopefully Tom Ryder will be able to,
Yeah, we can.
and Joyce can attend, and we'll, wait for the update.
Yeah.
But as a resident, we're here.
Thank you.
And is it a butter? I mean,
I always ask, that's how we learn, right?
Yeah.
The only stupid question is the one that's not, never asked.
There you go. All right, with that being said, we're gonna
Thank
move
you,
on.
Jay.
Thanks.
Thank
you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, doing well.
So we're
Catch
going
that
to, fiscal year 25 BOH budget update.
So on the insert that I gave everybody for the Board of Health package, I spoke with Jody last Wednesday and we discussed the extra $13,200 in the landfill budget. Jody was trying to balance the town's budget and the BOH is one of the departments that she was looking to reduce the spending. We went over the new elements that would be added to the landfill testing line item, and after further discussion, we reduced it by $10,000 for the reasonings below. So for the third-party inspection and reporting, this is a biannual inspection, so it's done every 2 years. So since we already had it done October 31st, 2003, that would hit the fiscal year 24 budget, so therefore it would not be needed for fiscal year 25 budget. So we'll be back on fiscal year 26 budget. The access agreement, this will be covered by town council's line item for the town, so the BOH doesn't need to have this as an extra cost, which I still have not received from Caris. And the maintenance, as this was a number thrown out to cover contracts for whatever the highway department couldn't cover, was told that FinCom Reserve could handle it if needed. So basically, we went from 10,000 down to $3,200 for landfill
Okay,
extra.
all right. The only thing that I would want to add to that is that the money that we put in for the maintenance, those are items that the DEP already told us we needed to take care of. The sinkholes and the storm drain. So that wasn't a want, that was an actual need. And as long as highway's gonna take care of it, then it's not gonna be a problem, but our highway department is stretched pretty thin. And that's why we plan for that. So, again, I would just stress to her, that we're under obligation to the DEP to take care of those things. And those are items that have already been pointed out to us that need to be taken care of. We don't know what's coming down the pike.
How do we want to, from the standpoint of, from a highways department's perspective, should we be actively engaging them or looking at this?
Well, we have, I mean, John Dudley came out, when we were talking about that wellhead
Yeah,
and the down tree.
Yeah.
And he took care of it right away, did a great job.
Mhm.
I appreciate the work of Mendon Highway on taking care of that.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, the other pieces.
well,
If that conversation continues.
Jack, I know you and I looked at the storm drain, and I think John did too.
He did, he was there.
All right, so the storm drain is next in line. I don't think we went around and looked at the different sinkholes, but I believe he had the photos.
Yes.
So we've already engaged him. I think the next step maybe would be to see if we could get a time frame on the storm drain.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the access agreement though first.
Right. Okay.
Maybe we could,
Well, in the
do you have
meantime,
any communication, Jack, out of curiosity with Karen?
excuse me,
Just numerous emails asking for the date.
Just asking.
Yeah.
And you should be able to at least respond in some fashion or?
Yeah.
So you've had emails, a few emails have gone out with no response?
Correct.
Well, yeah, fortunately, we have a good line of communication with the present property owner.
Mhm.
So asking John for an approximate time frame and how long it will take him to complete the job isn't a bad thing, because if we find that he's got an opening, we've got access agreement or not, we've got a good
We can
communication
even
line
do
with the homeowner.
something, you know.
And we can say to her,
Right, an email confirmation, no
Yeah,
problem,
we
you know.
need, we need to
right,
get this
good point.
done. This is when we'd like to do it, because
Yeah.
obviously we don't want to interfere with her business, right, with her people coming in and out. So that would be a consideration with scheduling, but other than that, she's not gonna say no.
Right, no.
We should be, because we do have that established.
Right.
Mhm.
And she's very agreeable.
Oh, that's cool.
So, you know, we've got a good working relationship, so I would, my other board members, I would, start the conversation with Highway and get on the list for that storm drain.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
You know, and, you know, after we get that, we'll go to the sinkholes, because if the DEP comes to us, we can say, all right, this is what we're working on, this is what when we've tentatively got it scheduled, when that's complete, we'll go to the next
Mhm.
at least we'll have, hopefully maybe have some idea from John. I understand there's a lot going on,
thing. Oh, yeah,
you know,
and if he says he can't do it, then we go to the next step.
Yeah.
You know, which is, we'll have to get some numbers from some outside contractors, and then we'll have to go to finance committee, select board, and say, hey, this is what we need, how do you want to pay for it?
Yep.
Which, you know, I mean, again, the DEP is telling us we need to do these things. It's not a wish list.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, if he can't, if the highway can't, then to your point about hiring a contractor, and then that's, you know, that's what the reserve fund transfer is for, unforeseen, unanticipated.
Yeah, and I mean,
And it meets that definition, because we were relying upon the highway department, and then they got tied up, so hey, here we are.
right,
You know.
and I understand the need to balance the budget, so I'm not opposed to what they're trying to do, as long as it's understood that,
We have
yeah.
parameters that we have to go through.
yeah, at least provided the avenue,
Mhm.
FinCom reserve.
Mhm.
So it's not like it's holding us up.
Right.
It's just gonna be a different pocket.
Right, yeah, and we were just trying to account for it.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to go and say, hey, we have a bill that,
Yeah.
you know, needs to be paid.
Right.
Yeah, but we have a win-win. We can give our monies back or
Right.
to help balance the budget from our perspective, yet still have an avenue for getting the scope of work.
Right, and hopefully there, you know, there won't be too much that we have to go outside of highway to do.
Right.
But even when highway does it, there's a cost.
Oh, I understood.
You know, I mean, those guys, you know, something else might not get done, or the guys might be working overtime to get it done. There's materials involved, but we don't have much option other than to, you know, keep nibbling away at it down there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anything else, Jack, on that topic?
Nope, that is it.
All right. Well, hopefully that's gonna help the budget float.
We're doing our part,
Hey,
we're doing our part.
Lake Nipmuc testing parameters discussion.
All right, also in the packet, Dan emailed out to Matt Ludwig, who was also the guy who did the Lake Nipmuc study back in the day.
Yep.
Dan asked them, regarding how many tests should be done for each walleye at the beach. Matthew Ludwig responded like, for the small area, 2 sample points would be plenty of data for routine sampling. If you find that there was a big enough difference between the results between the 2 locations, you might then consider adding a 3rd sample. So what,
Yeah, I was happy about that.
Yeah,
so what Dan did was provide us with numbers for how much testing cost.
So on that graph, I'm just confused, so the far right, where it looks like we're tallying up the total cost at $7,000 figure.
The $7,000 figure, that's
So-
if we have Dan or Isabella collect the samples.
Oh, it's at that 7,000.
Yeah.
And they're both qualified to do that?
Yes.
Okay. I just wouldn't want to have someone not respect the results,
Mhm.
because, I mean, I'm fully confident in both of them, but I wouldn't want the results to be thrown out.
Mhm.
Okay?
So, in the 3,000 figure below that,
That's gonna be added, we might go back and collect every single one of them, so you're looking at over $11,000.
oh, so those 2 numbers combined,
Yeah, if Michael back came out and did everything on their own.
so we'd save like a little over $3,000 amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what do we have budgeted for that?
10,000?
So. we
no
have-
one knows.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah,
You have something left over to pay for the repairs or something?
Yeah,
Hey,
that's bottom line spend.
That's,
That's bottom line
one hand
spend.
and wash it together,
Right.
literally.
well, and, you know, not that Dan has nothing to do, but he's around.
Mhm.
He's on the job.
Yeah.
And for Isabella, it would probably be a great resume builder for her.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm
You know,
hoping she
she's a,
doesn't need to have.
well, no, but I mean, you know, young lady, she
I
wants
love
to,
her. She's
Yeah.
so good.
so, you know, there's benefits all around,
Mhm.
for them doing the testing
Oh, yeah.
and being involved in it.
She's so smart.
Yeah, she's a very bright little girl, lady.
All right. Anything else on this topic?
we're just taking a look at the graph, so it looks like the layout's gonna be, from a schedule perspective. We're doing, I guess, testing for all parameters in the beginning,
Yeah, Dan said suggested at Bernie and start
Right.
have a base.
At
Yeah.
least, yeah, bottom line.
Okay. These are all the different points that have been determined in the lake
correct.
due to testing it. Cool. There's just 4. At one point, we had up to 6 or 7. We just decided that was it needed?
One point decided was, he said it wasn't worth doing it.
Is Lake Nipmuc Association still doing their own testing?
They do, so they do. We haven't had another meeting.
Yeah,
The
but
last meeting that we had, which was right in the beginning,
Mhm.
that was their thing that they were doing, so,
Now, do you know, out of curiosity, their,
sites, no.
yes, from site perspective and what they're asking to be collected?
No. I mean, I think it's all, has to do with, you know, bacteria and that sort of thing, you know, same old stuff.
I mean, I just hate to see us like duplicating.
So that's say,
Well, they're not doing the same sites.
So in addition to what we're gonna do with this plan, there's other sites that
They
they're
do,
doing.
Yeah, around the lake.
right,
yeah,
right.
Well, we're doing sites around the lake too.
Right, but
They're
But
not
they
doing
don't-
the same ones, yeah.
Okay, cool, okay.
maybe that's why we dropped down so they.
Maybe, I got the whole full water area.
Right, and as we're going along, we can confirm that.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're not wasting any resources.
Yeah, it's been one waste.
I'm sure they haven't started yet either, right?
Oh, I didn't think so,
I would.
Okay.
no,
Got a frost coming tonight.
I heard,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, high 20s.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
My
so,
raspberries, my asparagus, they're all up.
we good?
I'm good.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the old landfill update, please.
Hang on.
Well, yeah, we discussed it,
We did.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fiscal year 25 trash recycling subscriber rates.
All right, so I crunched the numbers.
That's the numbers.
I crunched the numbers. So this is what we are looking at.
I'm trying.
No, it's okay, Chris. I'm patient. Thank you.
So the top portion is what we're looking at for counts. So standard subscribers is 1,311. New seniors included for senior subscribers is now 597.
That's up from.
That's up from 52, so it's 545. So
Did our standard subscribers drop or rise?
yes, it rose, but again dropped because of the 665.
Okay. I didn't know how many new homes we might gain.
So again, depending on the enterprise fund, if I leave the rates alone, it will cover the year. With the difference of $957, and that does not include the trash sticker revenue.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
But if we put it in with the municipal trash collection, I'm gonna need to at least raise the rate by 3%.
you need to put it in within this.
If we cover the municipal.
If we cover the $18,700.
We're not
I thought that was a separate.
Well, I know we're not, but what if the enterprise account?
Gets voted down.
We're pulling, my view, we're pulling $18,000 out. Irrespective of the enterprise account, we're not. And
Well,
they're gonna have to, we're gonna bill the subscribers less than $18,000.
that's how we presented our budget, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that budget got approved.
Yes.
So it's a done deal.
The enterprise fund is just an extra bonus. In my view, but it's not contingent upon affecting.
I mean,
Yeah,
we were told by the town accountant to fund the subscriber trash in our budget, less the municipal. So we followed directions. That was the night that Eric called in and Jody was present.
Let me double check on that, because I think I did put in the full amount of the trash for our budget.
You put up on, when we had the meeting.
Do we have that on there?
I have a
Oh,
copy.
thank God.
We had the,
I've been carrying it around.
Good.
Now, I don't know what version this is.
when we met with the select board that night, I believe you would have the 18,000 up into the, up out of the.
I can't, like, I had so many versions I can't remember.
I have this. one
Municipal
here.
trash collection, 24 versus 25. We have 0 for 24, we have 18,700 for 25.
Oh, all right, so this is the new one, yeah, with the municipal trash separated out.
So we followed directions when we presented,
Yeah, so how I did it was with the 18,700.
and so, and that got approved, minus the 10,000 that we needed to give back.
To our knowledge, I mean, we haven't been, other than hearing that in general, the select board has given their blessing, there's been no formal
Mhm.
communication to us. But we have to take that as budget's approved, right?
That's my way of thinking.
When's town meeting?
Volume.
May,
We just.
May 3rd,
May 30th, I was saying May 30th.
When do we print the bills?
May 3rd is the town meeting.
I'm going to, believe I told them like the
Friday.
second week of May, I told
Right.
Kelly and Ryan that I would have the information over to them.
So it sounds
Okay, so
So
that's,
we printed May, they get mailed out to receive by June and paid by the end of June.
okay, so that's after town meeting.
It will be at town meeting, correct?
Screening committee.
Yeah, I know. Did you go through all those things?
All right, so
Did you go?
Don't I look tired?
I appreciate the fact that we've been presented both ways,
Mhm.
in case something unexpected comes up. But the top representation, is how we presented our budget, regardless of whether or not the enterprise account gets approved.
Good job, Jack.
All right? And we're confident with our tonnages.
Yes.
So
So no change in cost to Travis.
that with sticker money, that'll make that cushion of 957 a little bit better.
Mhm.
Retained earnings.
There you go.
Well, it only matters if we get the.
Right.
I mean,
Um,
it's just a
This
constant.
seems so.
So we're good to go? No more soon.
Now I can add, since we're on the topic, I can add to the conversation as far as updating communication wise. So I know we had communicated, and I know you, from your personal perspective, work wise, you're kind of on the go now. So what I did was
Struggling.
I offered to step in and kind of take over where Alan had left off in the conversation of the enterprise fund. Because after it came up at our initial meeting with Eric and Jody, we did look at what the DLS guidelines were and what they do recommend for, you know, kind of dotting the i's, crossing the t's, and putting things, having a quote unquote policy that's kind of agreed upon by everyone involved, right? So Alan has started that process, and so I did reach out to, well, actually, I started last week on Thursday to try to catch Jody. She was, unfortunately, wasn't available. She emailed me back on Friday, said, you know, she was kind of sorry that she couldn't see me, and basically just asked when could we get together. And I emailed her back on Saturday to say, you know, no worries, we understand, in a busy time, the budget, she's been pulled for drilling down on projects like the senior community project, getting all the details and stuff. So I just said that, I've explained Alan was kind of busy at this point, really. Any availability during the daytime has kind of disappeared for him. So I offered to kind of step in and continue the conversation. So my flexibility, I told her, was much more open during the daytime. So I said, I'll defer to your schedule. Let me know. And so far, I haven't heard anything back yet. Just waiting to hear back. And so that's essentially just going to be to kind of continue the conversation, discussing.
Right.
And just, I guess, validating viewpoints.
Yeah, and what indirect costs are and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
Well, I think, Jack could probably add to some of that discussion a little bit, but yeah, some email conversation you might have had where I think she might have copied you on something that she was saying to Eric, basically highlighting for Eric, the board's viewpoint on what would be or would not be an acceptable indirect cost. It was an email you showed me that where she kind of pointed out that as far as, and it was based on a conversation you had with her after you compressed, basically confirming to Eric it is absolutely the board's view that salaries are not part of this
Well,
cost.
it was that, it wasn't.
It's not a wash.
It wasn't a wash.
Not a wash.
Yeah, that was not acceptable.
And we think, we know that the first meeting that we had, Jack had, when he was kind of put on the spot there initially, Eric tried to get a number, percentage of time out of him. He mentioned 30%, which, you know, were very pleasing to Eric at the time. And that was stated because that was would represent a good amount of money. That would almost represent a wash. I think in further discussion and really having a chance to evaluate it on a year-to-year basis overall, the amount of time that he would actually spend, if you're even gonna consider using a percentage of his time into a cost factor, is far less. Jack is your roughly 5%.
And we discussed how it ebbs and
It's
flows,
low, correct.
Things that-
just like everything else that we handle.
Now he's been busy,
That was my 30% time is,
Right.
but there's definitely, I think what we all feel to be
All right.
accurate. So we'll just see how further discussion continues. So
Very good.
that's my update.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, anything else on this? All right, let's move along to Board of Health admin updates, please.
all right, so last Thursday I spoke with John Erickson, who responded about the NEFC field. Remember how they want to put in restrooms without sinks, just toilets only? He did confirm that there is no, against the building codes for amendments, so NEFC field can go ahead with their plans with just toilets only.
Okay.
I received a anonymous phone call and an anonymous email from a situation up by Subway where somebody was eating their lunch and calling and talk more about this. They were eating their lunch behind Subway and they could smell septic odor. And
I'm gonna call today.
I'll let Tom go since he was the first one up there.
Oh, Jack did give me a call, explain what had happened with the communication, so I took a ride up there in the rain. It
Oh,
wasn't raining all that bad, not as bad as the day I had at the old landfill.
So I had one of those.
You had one of those too. So I went up and basically kind of walked the area, so what we're talking about is, you're probably not familiar,
right.
when you're looking at Subway in the back to the right. So what would be that kind of hill area, right?
Yeah.
And the area I think that was being referenced by the individual was down below. There was some water / fluid
Great water.
type, yeah, right along the edge there. I basically took a little video of that, kind of walking along the edge and whatnot. And then took another one of just kind of comparing it to where that slope is, that
That's the
is
septic system.
is
Yeah.
where the septic system
Yeah,
is.
correct. Yeah,
That
that
is
is the
septic.
septic.
That is.
That is the septic
That
system.
is, yep.
So I turned that information and gave the videos over to Jack, and that's now I will defer now to Pauline on her visit.
Okay.
So went up there, took a look at it, that very next morning. I mean, there was still some ponding and water and whatnot. I walked all the way down to the back and came up and I didn't see anything, but the water was right there at the slope of the septic system. So come back to the office, pulled out the septic plan, saw where the D box was, which is right in that area.
Yeah.
Isabella and I went up on Friday?
Right.
So I just figured another set of eyes, and she asked me to go with her on an inspection. I said, okay, I said, but come with me, another set of eyes. We walked around, I mean, that area is wet to begin with, just wet to begin with. Plus, the other thing too is that there is no maintenance plan, because it was done back in the day. There's no maintenance plan for that septic system. It's all overgrown, I mean, and it's just not been maintained. So Isabella and I went up there, kind of looked around and whatnot. I mean, you know, sometimes like that water, I mean, you know, it's leaf mold that people sometimes mistake for septic, because it has that, you know,
Oily.
decomposing smell to it. However, so found out, called up John Meenot, very, very nice, asked him for the pumping records for the septic system and who the pumper was. We found out that the person who was pumping it was surprising. Did he come in today, Mr. Dowland?
No, we did not.
Okay. He's not a licensed, hauler in Linden, God bless you, right now. So we advised him,
That's my dealer.
we advised him that he wasn't, asked for the pumping records, which he sent over, but in the meantime, Kathy Iaccardi had contacted me from the Meehan Group, and she also emailed them over. Contacted Stevie Donatelli, and Stevie and I went up there today, and where the D box is there in that water, it probably, because it's a pump system,
Right.
it probably was relieving itself.
Right,
And that's why you were seeing the water in that area, and that's why you had that rapid flow that day of the water. So Stevie suggested that, we got the pump records from Mr. Dowling, but also is suggesting that we, contact the property owner and, have them do a Title V. Because it's his opinion that because of where the D-box is located and the water that's ponding that area, that system may,
failed,
right?
right.
I remember a similar story with the library. Because that system hadn't been mowed and maintained on top,
Yep,
when they would maybe doing the Title V, maybe when the town was gonna buy it, they found that the roots had gotten into the lines. Now, they were able to remedy the situation. I don't know how overgrown the system is that we're talking about now versus what the library may have been previous to our ownership. But
I don't think it was, I think the board at that time ended up kind of helping the situation by approving the same footprint. I think they had to kind of redo the whole,
I'll redo the field.
yeah, all the pipes were busted and Chris, they were doing
Okay.
the work up there and I remember the photo. I think I was
We were
telling you.
talking
Yeah.
today.
He was standing
Yeah.
like this in the photo, holding what Steve described this morning, what looked like a huge python, where the root came up one side, crossed his hands and came down the other side.
Yeah.
And that's what was
Yeah.
all under the pipes.
Yeah,
So, I'm gonna send an email over, tomorrow and, say that I wanted to discuss it with the board first.
How close is that system to the well? Because isn't the well in the middle of that island?
The wells in the islands.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's a PWS.
That's the
Yeah.
So we know that they're monitoring that. So I guess the plus is that nothing's showing up in the well yet, but that's gotta be under 100 feet.
I would think so.
Yeah, on the scale, it showed it on the plan.
Yeah, I mean, that was
Can't
built,
tell you if you-
that was built in the 80s.
but still, you had to be 100 feet away from it, and that was all new, you couldn't do that.
Back then, 100.
No, maybe it's a little over.
100 places. You just did back then?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, that was the 80s.
right. But when I was doing the testing over across the road, John Nenart, right, said to me that they were what their plan was to bring the, because the water, they have a lot of problems with manganese in the water. So, their plan is to have them get water from over in
Oh, the new
the
project,
new project,
Uh,
bring it across the street.
and they'll just abandon
Yeah, that one.
or
I mean, they do have problems.
decommission the other well.
Mhm.
They do have problems with the water.
So I was gonna send an email over to, Kathy Iaccardi and, or Mr. Nina, suggesting that they, have a Title V inspector, who Mr. Dowling is a Title V inspector.
Right.
And, he said that he's only been pumping the tanks, it hasn't come over to take a look at, the system at all, so that's probably how we're gonna proceed and keep the board.
Where the tank's behind the building.
I believe so, yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Well, that's so funny because I got a call today too. So, I mean,
Yeah, lots of calls.
and I went up there and and thought, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because of where that well is there any need to involve DEP with what we're trying to do?
Possibly,
Yeah,
once the Title V is done,
should be 100 feet away,
mm,
it doesn't matter.
yeah, but I mean, that's all gonna fall into play,
Yeah, sure.
that'll all fall into place.
Do we have a copy of the plans for that?
The septic plan, yeah,
And what's the date on it?
87?
Old,
87?
I believe it's 87.
Yeah, I remember the place being built in the 80s,
Yeah.
so I can't tell you exactly where, but
but it's wet, I
Yeah.
mean, because, you know, you can see the vegetation
Right,
there that grows when an area is wet, you know?
Yeah.
But I was cause I was, you know, why is it,
Well, and
but I didn't know where the D box
the
was at
landscape
the
is
time.
changed behind the building with the storage of all that reclaimed asphalt.
Yeah.
I don't know if that has any effect on it. I mean, that's quite a distance
Yeah, that
away,
should
but
No, this is the system
yeah,
itself.
they had made like an access road behind
Yeah,
the subway
Yeah,
to get all the trucks. A pipe didn't get crushed, but there's a lot of recycled asphalt being stored behind that building. And that access road was between where you're talking and the corner of the
Right.
building, subway. A lot of equipment went in and out of there. You know, just grabbing at straws. I haven't physically seen or heard the complaints until tonight.
it's just the fact that the system itself is a pump system, and that's what happens when it will relieve itself.
Yeah, it's gotta go somewhere.
Right,
The pump keeps pumping.
and it just, you know, what Steve was saying about the slope of the way that, you know, where the system
Yeah,
sits and everything, you know,
It's way high above.
Right,
Yeah.
Behind the system, is there still a field there where the kids play?
No, that's all, that all became
No, they-
level with gravel, they gravel.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Remember those fields actually used to.
Right.
Water.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Isabella was saying when she was a kid, that was a soccer field there, she said, and there were times the games were canceled because it was underwater.
Right, and the only reason I was bringing that up is if there's a potential septic issue, obviously,
Right.
there'd be more urgency than
Mhm.
already
Mhm.
if kids are gonna be out there playing.
Yeah, they're
So
not-
if that doesn't take place anymore, that's a good thing.
Straight down, the gravel and
Okay.
kind of unfortunate.
All right, what's next?
Last week I received another rooster complaint on Nick Hill Road. So of course I called Joyce. And I'll let Joyce handle it.
You get it at the Royal. So I actually thought it was the house across the street that's next to the complainer. And so I went and spoke to her but in my mind, I knew that she did not have a rooster because she said to me that day that we agreed, I will not do that because I would follow that.
Were we talking about, what was 18A?
18, yeah. So, but I didn't realize that it was 19. And
Just on the
19 is
opposite-
across the street. But she said to me, the woman who said to me, I think that he has a very fairly loud rooster. So I went over there, his name is Cadero, Joe. And he was very nice. You know, I knocked on the door and talked to him and told him, you know, that somebody had complained and, you know, he said to me, it's so sad, he said, because this is Mendon, it's rural, it's, you know, it's so lovely. So I said, well, I understand, but those are the rules. And unfortunately, I stupidly thought it was 6 o'clock that they could take the rooster out. And for some reason, I thought that. Then when I talked to Jack said to me, 7 o'clock, so I went back. Jack gave me all a nice envelope to take to him, and
Yep.
he was there when I got there, and he said, I knew it was 7 o'clock anyway, he said, but I put the rooster in my garage, in his cage, and I didn't take him out until 8:30. And he said, he didn't crow in the garage, you know, he said, and, you know, he said, I just brought him out there and he's fine. So, he knows, he's got all the rules, he's got my phone number, he's got, all the stuff that, you know, he needs, and he said, you know, I'll just follow the rules, you know.
Very
And
good.
again, we have there's some, I will call.
But the guy called again and said, Ann called,
Yes.
and then, the man that's there, his name is
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Green called and said if the rooster was crowing at 5:30. And he said, to me, it wasn't my rooster, he said, I'm telling you, you know, and he was very nice, and, you know, we had a nice conversation, and, you know, so. I don't know where to go from here unless there's somebody else up to.
Well, I have a complaint, they complained about Saturday morning,
Right, he said, no, he said that rooster was not out Saturday
so I
morning.
haven't heard any more complaints after that.
Okay, because he said, I talked to him on Friday.
Mhm.
So when I talked to him on Friday, he said, I'm going to do that, you know,
Well, I will say that in the course of this whole rooster
debacle.
debacle, whatever you want to call it, that location had come up a few times. Our primary concern had been 18,
Right,
because we had been there. That had been the real problem. But in the course of those discussions, in those meetings, that other address did come up. And it seemed like whenever we had, it would seem like it would come and go. So I don't know if they were keeping it for a period of time and then they get rid of it, and then,
yeah.
because
you know what,
it was a few times when it would all of a sudden mysteriously
Right.
stop,
Right,
but then it would come back, and then,
Well, that's
We
what
never
the
really-
rooster was in the soup.
well,
well, that's the thing, I think he said to me, my wife wants me to kill it, and he said, I can do that, you know, he said, but, you know, I'm trying to follow the rules, and I'll do that, you know.
and we know the other thing that we, at least I found out anyway, getting educated, this whole rooster situation was sometimes you could have little ones, and you don't know when they're gonna have a
Right.
rooster
Right,
until they.
And so
they start.
Right, so that would sort of make them come and go.
Right,
Because if you get a new batch,
right,
and then you find out you get a rooster, and then you get a complaint, you get rid of the rooster, one way or the other.
right,
You know, 6 months later, you get another batch, for whatever reason. It depends upon if you're keeping them for eggs and keeping them for meat,
right,
as to how fast you go through it.
Obviously, this person knew he had a rooster.
right, yeah, he knew he had a rooster.
Well, and obviously-
He loved the rooster, he said to me, oh, my son is Down syndrome, and he said he loves the sound of the rooster, and, you know, and I said,
I think there's an app for that.
I said, yeah, probably. I said, well, he'll be crowing in the afternoon, you know. But the kid was very nice too,
Yeah.
and, I mean, to me, it is sad because it is rural. That's, you know, we're a rural town and
So,
it's,
well, so yes and no, because we've had these discussions.
I know.
We're rural in nature. It's built into our structure, right? We're an agricultural, right? But there are residences that, you know, who've been there for years. And then when you get these sounds, they can, on a regular basis, and it's only, we went through this, it's only when it becomes a consistent, really repetitive issue, where it starts to disturb the peace and quiet of the neighbors. Now you are encroaching upon someone else's livelihood. So we have to strike the balance. So we'll just have to play, it, you know, see how.
I would say that if we get another complaint from that area, we turn it over to our animal inspector.
But he said he would keep it in the garage, in the cage. He put it in a cage in the garage. You know, and I think he was debating about, you know, getting rid of it, but the only problem was that the kid loves the sound of it, you know, but.
Yeah, and I appreciate that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I mean,
But
certainly.
he said, you know, when I went there, he said, no, I didn't put it out till, because they said 5:30 on Saturday. Right, he said, well, it wasn't that rooster, he said, I can tell you that because I didn't take him out until 8:30. And I'd be the first to know if he was crowing so loud that it would go across the street because he's right underneath my bedroom.
Yeah. No, see what happens,
Yeah.
and, you know, if it comes up again, I would consult with Danielle. And have her look into it.
That's all I have in the updates.
Very good, thank you.
Mhm.
Health agent, please.
40 North Ave sent a letter to the property owner asking to appear at the board's next meeting. and monitoring, the system. There hasn't been.
Is that Audie?
Yeah, asked him to come to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Did the same thing with, 10 North Bridge Street.
okay, yeah,
But he contacted us through email to let us know that he has in fact engaged an engineer and he's moving forward with the repairs.
Who's the engineer?
It's, not Dupree, it begins with a.
it's the guy over in Bellingham that's.
Yes.
Decided,
Not land planning.
oh, it's not Lynn.
No,
Oh,
No.
I
no.
thought you said that.
Yeah,
No, He
originally.
was gonna use him,
Oh.
but then he changed his mind. And he sent me, I should have wrote it down.
That's fine, if you have it, that's
I
okay.
do, I should have it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I didn't tell him not to appear. at the
Right,
meeting.
and he's free to use any engineer that's
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
licensed.
we don't care.
It wasn't
Just
one
admits.
that I'm familiar with, it began with a D, like it was like Dietrich, something like that,
Okay.
engineering.
Huh.
But, so both
We'll
of
find
them,
out soon enough.
right, both of them received a letter, asking them to come to the next board meeting.
Good.
We already discussed, 3537 Hastings Street. 43 Blackstone Street, we're waiting for Karis to get back with regards to what's the next step as far as how the board should proceed, if the board should proceed with, condemnation or, what she advises.
Okay.
We discussed 32 Hastings Street. Met on site with the property owner and the business owner for MS Tire on, Route 16. We got the complaint about the tires. When we got there, he had done a really good job as far as, storing the tires temporarily underneath the trailer. And, they weren't out in the yard like they were. He is in the process. He has ordered a storage area for them outside. He's gonna put it over on one side of the parking lot. He's gonna take all those tires that are underneath there and he's gonna move them over there. He also has tires stored inside, took pictures of them, sent them to the fire department, just to give the fire department a heads up, God forbid there's ever a fire there. They know there's tires in there.
Are these new
What is he
tires,
gonna be
used
doing? What is
tires,
he- what
junk
is this?
tires?
No, new tires, and he, like as he repairs cars and stuff, and
Okay.
they need tires,
Right.
then, then,
Yeah, so this is inventory that he
yep.
wants to
this
take
is
care of.
his inventory, his inventory.
Even the ones that are under the car.
Yep,
Those are all new tires?
all new tires,
Okay.
yep, and he purchased a storage container, it's just delayed, so we entered into, very nice man, Jack was with me. I entered into a corrective action plan with him with a, periodic progress, inspections, and I'm scheduled to go there on May 6th. And I'll report back to the board. Wants to comply, understands it. Like I said, we sent them over to the fire department just to say, hey, heads up, these tires are stored in here, God forbid there's any, fire or anything. He also has oil, containers of oil that he stores inside the garage, so we let the fire department know that too.
You
He
get
does.
any acknowledgement back out of curiosity after you sent that information?
The chief did send me, back and asked me if moving forward, I would copy his, lieutenant with the
Okay.
emails as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but just so, for
Yeah.
safety reasons.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And this is why, that whole communication wheel.
I think they're very appreciative.
Right.
Just, yep. We also received a complaint from, residents that were concerned with a, property on 11 Wood Drive that unfortunately had a fire back in January.
Oh, yeah.
And two individuals in particular said that some of the debris that was out in front of the garage doors was blowing throughout the neighborhood. When I went up there, I didn't see anything like that. Did reach out to the property owner who, returned my call. And he advised me that he just, received, a partial release from his insurance company and he was getting a dumpster. And I told him of the concerns of the neighborhood. And he said that it's not his intention whatsoever to become a nuisance. He wants to, keep the property maintained. we talked a little bit, he's gonna get the dumpsters and put that stuff in there. I suggested he gets a couple of pieces of plywood and puts plywood up where the garage doors used to be.
Mhm. Are they living in the house? Is the house?
No.
They had to move, okay.
Yeah,
No kidding,
yeah.
they had to move on.
Did,
And I believe, as I recall, the people that were living in the home were actually, some of the children, a couple of the children of the owner. I know Gary's actually a friend of mine.
okay,
And it was a son and a wife and 2 or 3 of the children
okay,
were residing there. Gary has another location.
okay.
So when all that was going down, but I ended up having to relocate.
Also, feel free to let them know, as you probably already have done, that if there's any assistance that the Board of Health can give them.
Absolutely, I advise
that
him
way,
of
yeah.
that. I'll go up, I told him I'd go up, and check to make sure the dumpster is there. Let the, 2 concerned neighbors know. One of the neighbors in particular was very concerned because it was brought to her attention that, their intention of the property owners was to abandon the property, and I brought that to his attention. He said absolutely not, so rest assured, let him know that that's not the intention. And I said, I congratulated him on how quick he, got a response from his insurance company, to be honest with you. And he's like, wow, you think 3 months is quick? I said, oh, yeah. Or 4 months, yeah. And he said, nope, I told him if he has any concerns, questions, anything we can help him out with, we're here, and either between myself and Jack, and the board, so I'll just monitor, make sure. He said he's gonna clean it up immediately.
Yeah,
I have no doubts about that.
Obviously, need to make sure that the dumpster company is licensed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
He wasn't sure, I did ask him at the time, and he's like, I haven't even really thought about it yet.
yeah, that's a devastating loss, especially if they, to the point where the people that were living in the house, his family had to relocate.
Yeah.
Fortunately, no one was hurt.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
absolutely, but,
Right. Well, the landfill we already discussed, 55 Hartford Ave West, they're moving forward with the cleanup of that property. They're doing a great job.
yeah, I saw the dumpster had a top over it. I was
Yeah.
impressed.
Yep. Haven't gone down to that other property yet. I haven't forgotten about it, but we will get down to it. And we discussed DB Martin.
That might be a property to take Isabella with it
Yeah, because of the
Oh,
wetlands.
yeah.
Yeah.
because of the swamp. I mean, you guys are working well together.
Oh, we all do. You
Yeah,
kidding me? We're
so
a team.
Yeah,
to
I love her.
take her along and get her eyes on it. Again, not that we wanna torture the homeowner,
No,
but,
But they have a certain
yeah,
responsibility.
we certainly need to get, I think I saw the roof on what used to be the body shop, I think it fell in.
Oh,
all right, well, I'll take pictures
Yeah,
and send
when
it to
I
John.
went by, I think it's fallen in, the front section.
okay.
Okay, I'll get down there.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the house to the left, it's like an extension of the basement.
Yeah.
And I think the roof's gone.
Okay.
That was a big concern when we were there.
It's on its way then.
So after the inspection, it's probably something to let building know about
Mm-hmm,
in case there's something they wanna do. Or even the fire department, keep them in the loop
take
too.
pictures and send them.
Where
That's our,
where that
that's
was the
our
former body
policy.
shop.
Yep,
But they had made great progress, but I don't think anything's happened in a while.
okay. I'll get down there this week. We also received a complaint from an abutter of a property on North Avenue. I met on site with Isabella because one of the allegations with regards to this particular property was that, there was a, pond there with, a vernal pool actually with, salamanders in it. So, Isabella and I went up on Friday, was it, Jack?
Yeah, Friday.
And, met with the property owner, very nice man, very nice family, well established, they lived there for 40 years. Lord, and he was a plumber. He had some, old, water heaters and things like that. They were all contained in his backyard in a truck, and there was various and sundry, water heaters and other metal around it. Entered into a corrective action plan with him, going back on 2 weeks. I told him as long as we see forward progress, the board will continue to work with him, going back on May 3rd. And, Isabella inspected what it is this, old Boston Post Road runs right through there. A little bit of water's in there, over the years, they've taken the leaves and thrown them in there, it's wet vegetation, there's no salamanders. And Isabella confirmed that. It's, unfortunate that, that allegation was raised, but, people have their concerns, they have their concerns, so we went out and we investigated it. And, I'm scheduled to go back there, I have no doubt in my mind, that area will be completely cleaned up. There was also, she had a concern about that, he had some old wooden pallets there, but he burns those when he's allowed to burn them, so that really wasn't a concern of mine, nor was it a concern of Isabel's.
Very good.
Also received a complaint about a food establishment that, the complainant advised the board that, made an allegation of food poisoning. I interviewed the complainant. There were 3 individuals in the family. I asked for the contact numbers for the other 2 individuals so I could interview them. The complainant did not want to provide me with that information. They had, mussels. I went to the restaurant and inspected the tags, also asked on this particular day how many mussels they sold. They sold a bushel. Nobody else was sick. And fortunately, the complainant did not go to the emergency room. So it's very difficult to prove food poisoning other than symptoms where you can identify them based upon the symptoms, the only way to really truly prove food poisoning is by a stool sample. And unfortunately, the person didn't go there. I advised her of that, asked her of her symptoms, took the record, everything that went down, that she experienced. And she had contacted the restaurant and advised the restaurant that she was ill. The restaurant manager, owner, contacted me immediately and advised me. Immediately. And I went up there, I think it was the day after or 2 days after, told them what I wanted to see and inspected it. And, it's unfortunate that the individual, or the 3 individuals were ill, but it can't definitely say that it was from consuming mussels at this particular restaurant, but it made them aware of it. Also
And if he
spoke,
sold a bushel,
right, other people were not sick, there's no doubt. Looked at, I know that they are familiar with the process, they know what they need to do when they're handling shellfish. Their processes are in place, they follow a very set procedure. So I wasn't concerned about that, it's in the anomaly.
Well, one variable we don't know is, it is possible that others may have been affected, that we just don't know.
Right, but nothing was
But
reported,
nothing was reported.
right. We got another complaint from another restaurant today.
Mhm.
We received it, I'll be going there tomorrow. Regarding foodborne illness, it was, it sounded like it was a mother and 2 young children. One child had, chicken nuggets.
The chicken fingers.
Yeah, chicken fingers. So that's either, that's a couple of things that I'll go over, I'll review it. I've never been in this restaurant, I haven't inspected this restaurant yet, so it'll be my first time.
Okay.
And I'll let the board know. I did speak with that restaurant with regards to the dumpsters. And ironically, they had notified the dumpster company the day before that they wanted new dumpsters because they the lid was busted and it's kind of hanging like this.
Okay.
So they're paying attention.
Yes.
Well, I guess in one case, I'm glad people are calling us,
All day long.
right? Because I mean, we can't operate
Right.
without people calling us and alerting us to things. On the other hand, it's nice to know when you go into these restaurants that they're following proper protocol.
And the other nice thing is that the restaurant itself called the Board of
Right.
Health.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Right.
But sometimes things happen.
Right.
You know,
That's unusual, I think.
The restaurant that you haven't been to, you've probably already done this, but review prior inspections maybe?
Oh, I do that before,
Yeah.
yeah, all the time, yeah.
Just, that, you know, we haven't been to that particular restaurant. Be
It's up
interested.
for inspection anyway, it was one that Dan and I were discussing.
Okay,
Yeah, I always, before, you know, I
Yeah.
look at past inspections and note things.
very good. Oh, I'm sorry that, you know, these patrons have experienced this, but probably all in all, pretty good outcome.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, like I said, I mean, the thing that, you know, I'm really happy with is that the restaurant itself reached out to the board.
That's really good, yeah.
Even for people, you know, I mean, a lot of times, you know, geez, you know, was my stomach upset? Did I eat too much? Or that was something I hadn't had before, so I don't know how. So, I mean, these people at least went that extra step. I mean, I'm hoping they didn't suffer, but they went an extra step and reached out to us.
Yep.
You know, and said, hey, I might be experiencing, you know, and this is where I ate, and this is what I had. And they're identifying themselves for the most part. So, I mean, you know, it's you know, someone who's seriously concerned.
Absolutely, you know, and that's, and, you know, and it gives us an opportunity too, to, you know, go into the restaurant and, you know, speak with the owners or the managers. You sit down with them and another opportunity for education and, you know, communication and dialogue.
Let me ask you a question, just kind of spinning through my head. With these reports of complaints such as this that might happen with an establishment, food related, how do they all get categorized or put into the public domain? If anyone, they're watching, we're interested in getting any particular details.
About a foodborne illness?
Or just a food poisoning report.
If it's unfounded, that's the end of the report.
Okay.
So if someone had gone to the hospital
And they,
a stool sample was taken
that's right.
and it was verified, I'll say scientifically, then it would be public record.
We could advise, you know, it could be something. Now, here's a question for the board. This is something that you might want to think about. Do you want us to take our food inspection reports and post them on the website? And if you do that, because I don't believe you're doing it now, if you do that, then we'll have a section where we can add to different restaurants that have, you know, bona fide foodborne illness, you know, if it's verified. But
But only if it's verified.
only if it's verified. Sometimes, it's been my experience, some people, sometimes, and I'm not suggesting this is the case here, but because they didn't like the food that was served,
Or the service.
or the service, or they tried to convert a gift certificate into money. So that's why if it's unfounded, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
We investigate them, we vet them, you know,
Mhm.
interview, get the statistics.
Yeah.
Ask them what their symptoms are, because there's different foodborne illnesses.
Mhm.
All right, there's 8 of them, 9 of
Yeah,
them,
at least.
all right? And you can tell by the symptoms, and then you can go down the chat and you can see, of course, anyone can read them too. So you just, I always ask, did you go to the hospital and do you have a flu symptom?
How commonplace is it for a community to post something like that?
Well, I can tell you of a few communities that I know that in this area that post them. And the other thing too is that the restaurant itself has to post, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things in our inspection, has to post that patron has the right to ask to review the latest inspection. Board of Health. And they have to have it on site. It's one of your questions when you go in. So it's food for thought.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, literally. And other than that, then just Jack and I will be attending the Taunton training. It's an all-day training, jam-packed with a lot of information, really looking forward to, this, I have several speakers, Cheryl Savara being one of them, she's the top-notch person for the Department of Public Health. But they're gonna go over legal authority of boards of health, public records requests, green burials, update of the local and regional public health regulations, liability protection for boards of health. And then just some new things that, what they call coming down the pike. Just different litigations that boards of health are facing, so sounds pretty interesting.
Is Cheryl also connected with that group that we're a member of?
She's I don't wanna say,
Mass Association of Health Boards,
yeah, but she,
that's a conference.
yeah.
Oh, it
it's-
is that, huh?
Yeah.
For that group?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That's my question.
And that's all I have.
Awesome.
Very good.
Cool, thank you.
New business, contract renewal.
All right, so Connor Robichaud from the CMRPC gave us the new contracts, the other 3-year contract with the Blackstone Valley Partnership is up at the end of June, so here is a renewal. I gave the select board copies as well, because we're gonna need their signature for it as well, but just wanted the board of health to have a copy of it, because we're gonna need your signature.
Okay, so that's, no cost to us.
No cost to us?
We've been out of this for a number of years already.
It works.
That's worked out very well.
Seems to work all around, Yeah.
So, we definitely want to continue.
Oh, yeah.
So if the select board asks a question, we definitely want to continue.
Yep.
So I'll just await for their
Yes,
signed copy.
correct.
Very good. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, topics not anticipated.
I have nothing.
I think it's all at all.
All right,
My topic that's not anticipated is, are we going to next in May, start 7:30
can do.
meeting?
I think we determined to,
Yeah.
that we reduce.
Yeah, we did, we said that last week,
Yeah, I
right?
just wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
because that's my.
You'll have your golf time, okay?
Anything else?
Thinking.
Good and welfare for the board?
Items.
Yeah, I think the only thing I saw on the news, it seems as though some communities are getting tougher on tobacco and trying to age it out, I'll say.
Yes, that was a topic of conversation.
So that's coming around. We may want to think about it in the future.
You say agent.
Yeah, basically, the way I understand it is, it's almost like they're going by a certain birth year.
Mhm.
Is that the year 2000?
Yeah,
I've seen the same exact thing. If you were born in the year 2000, regardless of how old you are, you cannot purchase cigarettes.
Mhm.
But anything prior to 2000, you can purchase cigarettes.
so that eventually it'll just age out.
Yeah, age out.
Oh.
So it's something that I'm starting to see in the news, in the state of Massachusetts, I forget what communities.
It was a C word.
And it will speak to,
Charlton?
us had Joan and Jody from the Tobacco Alliance coming, so we'll
Okay.
try and get them on like maybe for June.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds at this particular time maybe a little far-reaching, because like the gentleman that we had, it could put a community store like that out of business, because businesses, highly reliant on tobacco,
Mhm.
which made our decision, difficult.
Mhm.
So, we'll have to wait and see how things, but I mean, I heard it, more than once on the news in the course of the day. So it's something that communities are starting to talk about, and I don't know if anybody has actually passed it yet.
Mhm.
But it's coming. So that's all I have. All right,
I'm good.
Oh, you good?
okay,
All right.
so, before we adjourn, our next meeting,
May 8th,
8th.
May 8th at 7:30.
7:30.
Are we liking the fishbowl?
Yeah.
It's
I-
working.
I believe we go back upstairs.
Well, we can.
Okay.
I'm just
Yeah.
asking.
I think we probably could because the need for them to be.
Oh, yeah,
everywhere
that's
is-
right, town meeting, right? Be
Right.
over.
So.
So upstairs.
You prefer up there?
I think compared to here, I think, the audio is better.
No.
I agree.
Upstairs, I've listened to some of these in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult. This is the speaker setup. You don't pick up all the,
Okay.
and I think we just have the mics up there. It's easy for people to hear us.
I'm not free.
No.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion.
Move that we adjourn.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
I,
Aye, thank you all.
thank you all very much.
oh.
Let me know when that's off, yeah.